hello. It's our Monday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. I'm coming to you here from KDSJ 479, Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. And I'm joined by my co-host today, Demetrius Johnson. Behind the scenes, you hear him. We're working on where you can see him eventually, but he's with us, and I want to bring him on. What's up, my man?
What's good, my guy? How you doing?
I'm doing really good. Heard you had a great weekend, family coming in. And
Definitely. Yeah, my brothers came up, one from Monticello, one from Pine Bluff, and then I had a brother from Houston come in and see me. So we had a good fellowship time, man. We barbecued, you know what I'm saying? So we had a great time.
One of the things I think that excites a lot of people over the weekend is, today was the day that most of the Razorback football athletes, the upperclassmen, will be on campus doing some type of testing to make sure all will be a go when they are able to be let back in the facilities. 1 week from today, Demetrius, 1 week from today. So what we're going to do to all our listeners and viewers, we're opening up the phone lines today. Shoot us your questions. Some of your concerns. Who are going to be some of the players, expectations. What's your take on Sam Pittman, the way he's been able to put the brand out for this football team so early. All the things. Coach Eric Musselman, what do you feel about him? Mike Neighbors. What's the pulse that you feel going forward for those three major sports is the big question that I have. And we're going to open up the phone lines. You can reach us here at 601-7400 and ask us anything. Me and Dia try to come up with the answer. And if we don't, we'll have it before the end of the show. I promise you. I definitely promise you. But I want to go over and ask Demetrius, will we have full stadiums when September 5th rolls around? That's going to be one of the questions we're going to ask one of our listeners to give us their opinion on.
I think that's a great question. I think to answer your question with a yes or no, I think the immediate answer is no. If you're talking about open September 5th and having a maxed out stadium, I don't think that's going to happen. But I think as the season goes on, and actually if the Razorbacks do have some success, I guarantee, Donald W. Reno Stadium will be full.
And another question that we're going to have, because we're just going to throw it out there as our platform, and sometimes you have to talk about some very touchy subjects, but they touch home with the SEC and college football recruiters. And I made a statement to Demetrius before we came on the air about how important it was for all Division I Power 5 coaches to speak out. In particular, the Caucasian coaches. Let's just put it out there. And I'm not saying this to create any type of animosity or think that we're trying to make it a race. But real talk, I really feel like the Caucasian white coaches, Demetrius, across all Power 5 schools need to put out a statement, because when you look on campus, you're talking about predominantly high minority rosters. These moms and dads are really going to pay attention to this going forward. And being as most kids come from the South, this is a really big time for the SEC. And fans, how do you feel about that? Should a coach or coaches or programs put out statements in a time like this? I believe so. I believe, athletics give you so much more of a platform to talk about all different, things that really are important in today's world.
Oh, absolutely. All these coaches talking about, it's not always about sports, about raising young men. And I think this is the step to say, okay, it's not always about what goes on the field, but what I'm instilling into these young men as their head coach, as a leader, as someone that they look up to and highly respect. So I think it is crucial that, these coaches, this makes me want to sit down and talk to Barry Odom. That was one of the things that I when we first met Barry Odom for the first time.
Speaking of Barry, we'll probably try to get our listeners some Barry Odom clips from when we had our sit down. Since we are about to get into it, I know a lot of people may want to see some of his, the things he wants to do schematically. But we had a good sit down with him. But back to your statement. I'm sorry to interrupt that.
Nah, you're good. Me and Barry Odom was talking about with the Trayvon Martin and everything that was really going on, and everything that had took place with the riots in Missouri,
yes,
and everything that was taking place, because I want to say it was 2 deaths around that time. Sorry, I don't remember the other death that had taken place actually in Missouri, but I do remember it was around that Trayvon Martin time. But I just look at Barry Odom and the things that he had to endure as a head coach, and some of the tough positions that he was put in, during those times. So it just really makes me want to sit down and talk to him and pick his brain, because this isn't unfamiliar territory when it comes to these race issues being on a athletic standpoint. Because you remember their whole athletic program boycotted at one time, where their football players didn't want to play for that university. So again, you making that statement saying that coaches really need to come out and make a statement. I think you hit it right on the head. I think it's crucial for all coaches, not just coaches in the SEC, but coaches that have any African American. And I'm not just talking football either. We're talking about sports in general.
Right.
I know a lot of people.
This is just not going to be centralized to football. This is
absolutely.
I think this is around. This is collegiate athletics wide for every sport.
In this break, I had came across a Moses Moody. He had gave a speech to his university, and I'm going to try to find that so I can play that in the break. But I think it's crucial that you really speak up for these African American young men, because you expect them to lay their life on the line to help promote a university, to make sure you have your check, because your check is dependent upon the success of your team. So again, I think it's very crucial that these coaches come out and speak on this situation.
Well, we'll take a real quick break. We're going to open up the phone lines. We see a lot of your questions throughout our viewership you guys send in, but we're going to open up the phone line and let you ask the actual question live and on air. Let's talk a little bit. Let's interact about Arkansas football. Just how important is it that major college coaches and all of the Power 5 sports make a statement during this what I consider a very crucial time, not only in the world, but I think in college athletics, because this is a very, when you don't get the mama, you won't get the kid almost 99.9% of the time, and I think that's even going to be heightened even more so by what's been going on during this last 6 or 7 or so days, last week I should say, what's going on and transpired via Minneapolis, Minnesota. But let's take a break, and when we get back, let's talk a little bit. Call us. You can do so at 479-601-7400. That'll put you into OTH. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins, and it's our Monday edition on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
Timmy God, the producer.
My name is Moses Moody. I'm gonna be performing an original poem called "He Beat the Streets." You struggle to reach a destination where my uncle found himself in max incarceration, all because he had this undone infatuation with pride. Though he had to put that pride to the side because he was headed to spend cold nights with straight killers. I'm talking caged up gorillas, all fighting for one spot at the top. When he was inside, I'm sure he had dreams and aspirations to change his situation, maybe even further his education. But when he finally got out, he can't even leave his house. See, when I was young, I thought he had went crazy. It was on a totally different page. But when I finally reached a certain age, I started seeing the rage. A grown man spent 18 years locked up in a cage. They treated him like an animal. Only time he got respect is when he roared. Well, my uncle had the heart of a soldier, the aggression of a prize fighter, just no one taught him what to fight for. See, the system creates this illusion with lies and confusion, and my uncle fell victim to the trap. Well, I'm sorry to say, I'm starting to believe the only way to make it out of the struggle is put a ball in that hoop, a wrap. It's so hard to make it out. There's just so many obstacles. Look at Trayvon. He made it through the thugs, drugs, robbing and stealing, but he still fell short because he ain't know those thugs weren't the only ones doing the killing. But Trayvon Martin's not the only one. That's just the one that everybody knows because that's who everybody shows on the news. But the news is used to desensitize our eyes so we don't cry no more when we see our people murdered in despair. We don't care. We just change the station. But I can't change the station when I see my youth dying on TV. I got this deeper connection since they all look like me. I'm tired of seeing 5-0 murdered another unarmed black male. But I guess we always armed, because in their eyes, pigment is equivalent to a pistol. But I don't feel like they bad people. I feel like they genuinely scared for their life. In no way am I saying that's all right, but cinematography is used to paint my people in a bad light. But let me ask y'all a question. When you see me, what's your first impression? Are you willing to learn this lesson, or are you distracted by my complexion? An impoverished black male making his way out the streets is the equivalent to a flower blooming through the concrete. And their success is a product of sacrifice, tenacity, and just straight up luck. That sacrifice comes in when you pushing a broke down hoopty and your own boy got a Bentley truck, all because he's selling that stuff. But I'm tenacious. Just like that single flower that busted through that concrete. He had to stand there, eye to eye, toe to toe, staring at defeat. But he built different, so his mind's not even wired to consider retreat. And after all that young man left standing on his own 2 feet had done the impossible. He beat the streets. Thank you.
Welcome back, welcome back. It's on the Hill Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's our Monday edition here on KDSJ 479, and that was audio from Arkansas signee, true freshman, 5-star, 4-star, whatever you want to call it, Moses Moody. Gave a senior speech down in Florida, Mount Vard Academy, and I felt every word this young man said, Demetrius, kind of really ties into what we're going through in real time, don't you think?
Well, absolutely. I think he hit it on the head, with a lot of what he's saying. I don't want to make this just a racial, because I do want to tie this back into sports. And it goes back to the last segment where you were talking about just coaches really stepping up to make these kids feel comfortable. Right. Getting them in an environment where they feel they can maximize their talents and not just be looked at as an athlete, but as a human being. Because a lot of people just look at African Americans and think they can run, jump, skip, rap, or anything in the entertainment, but these are human beings with families, feelings, emotions, going through struggles just like a regular human being, but sometimes doesn't get treated
Right.
or looked at as such. So again, I think you saying that these coaches, again, volleyball, basketball, tennis, golf, wherever you have African Americans playing, these coaches are going to have to stand up and stand in the gap for these this younger generation and really speak the word.
Man, I mean, I don't have anything else to add to that. I mean, but we are opening up the phone lines, and if you'd like to chime in with your thoughts on a lot of topics, Razorback athletics, football, who are some of the exciting players you're really looking forward to watching? Sam Pittman in year one. What's the expectation? What is the most pivotal game on this year? Are there one? Is there two? Are there three pivotal games? I mean, in all your opinions, what are they? I personally think that there's going to be two pivotal games. I think, and I've always said A&M always seems to be the one that gets things rolling, and then I think that Ole Miss, probably the Mississippi State game. I think A&M Mississippi State will be the two pivotal games for this football team in the year 2020 football season. And also, too, what's up with Muss? I mean, how are you excited going forward? I mean, how soon are we expecting to see this basketball team make a run at Elite Eight, Sweet 16, Elite Eights, and Final Fours, and possibly national championships? I mean, what's the expectation level? I think Arkansas is knocking on the door. Basketball-wise, I'm not going to say this year, but I'm going to say, in my opinion and the way I feel, with the way Coach Musselman and his staff are able to recruit and also to brand the basketball program on the national scene, won't be too far, won't be too long, Demetrius.
Yeah, I think all these programs are on the right track. I don't necessarily know how this pandemic is really going to affect going forward, because I still think there's a lot in the air with what kids can come back, what kids are going to decide to, use their eligibility.
Right.
Spring sport athletes, that is, they get to use their eligibility. How these younger seniors are gonna that had their spring situations cut short.
Right.
So I'm just really eager to see how we adapt and kind of go forward and kind of prepare. So if something like this happens again, kids aren't put in this type of situation, because this can, as an athlete, it can be very disheartening when you put so much time and work, and this is kind of the only thing or the only outlet for some kids. The only way is for them to change their family's living style is having sports in their life. So I think it's crucial that we do go forward thinking what's best for these student athletes and trying to make the best situation out of it.
Well, man, let's catch a real quick break. We'll try to find some Barry Odom audio. We have it. I know Demetrius is in the process of bringing that audio up, but the topic that I really am passionate about right now is the speaking up of the Power 5 program, the head coaches and in the programs. I really feel like it's very important for the leader of that institutional program, be it basketball, football, baseball, to make a statement. But, we can all feel if it's going to be genuine or if it's going to be just coaches speak, the PC. And I don't think that's what these prospective recruits that you're going to recruit from this moment on, whether you like it or not, from this moment on, those mamas, those daddies, those grannies, those aunts, those sisters, those uncles are really going to watch the response from these Caucasian coaches, Demetrius. I mean, it's going to be very paramount, and when you don't speak, that's something that sticks out. That's not going to go unnoticed. It's not going to go unnoticed at all.
And I'm not trying to dig any old wounds up, but there was a point in time where Arkansas was labeled for that type of program.
Right.
Don't go to Arkansas. They don't play the black kids there. So
been told that quite a bit by prospective recruits,
especially
in my
at
time.
the quarterback position. But you see that changing. With KJ getting the opportunity to play football. So again, I don't want to make this a race issue, but I'm just telling you the importance of, if you want to be a successful athletic program, you're going to have to make these kids feel comfortable, and you're going to have to represent them at a high level. And
make a note, it's never racist. This is about right and wrong. That's what this is. It's about unjust for a particular race culture, and well, I'm not going to sit here being an African-American man watching what I've watched over the last couple of days. I've been very disheartened. I put out some statements that I feel real strong about. Will not delete them at any point. But I have I have two mixed children, so I understand both sides, and I'm trying to be empathetic. But what I can say is this can be solved together. It has to be. That's the only way we're going to do it. But back to the point, Demetrius, it's just going to be very paramount for these coaches to come out and speak. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I mean, it's cut and dry, but I know how we can get down and talk to a guy that had some experience with this, but he's our defensive coordinator, Barry Odom. Let's let you hear some our sit down with BO, and then we'll be back. If you want to call us, you can do so, 601-7400, area code 479. That'll get you in. This is On the Hill with Pat Jenkins, KDSJ 479.
See you, man.
Back in
Glad
a bit.
to be here.
Talk about the transition. Barry, you guys, instantly you come to campus roughly about 2 days after Coach Pippen gets a job. You have a hosting weekend, have to get out and recruit 3 commits. Not a lot of time to put together what you guys were able to put together, but did an amazing job. Talk about, how stressful that was, or, what was that process like?
Well, really, when I got the phone call and got the job offered to me and said yes, my wife and 3 kids, we jumped in the car and drove to campus. That was on a Friday because I knew there was an official visit weekend. I wanted to get around those guys, and I wanted to get around Coach Pittman. So from that moment until sitting here today, I feel like it's kind of been on fast forward. Just you're going and getting adjusted and trying to start to build relationships with your team. That's the most important thing. And now that we can't be on the road in February, that's going to be such a huge part of what we're trying to get done. But also this staff working together and the direct approach that Coach Pittman gave us, and the way that he charged us with going out and let's hit these numbers and these spots. He did a great job from starting on whatever weekend that was to finishing yesterday. I would feel pretty strongly saying if you just looked at recruiting rankings, I don't know anybody that's ever started at 118 and finished 29 in basically a month's time. Coach Pittman needs a lot of credit for that, on how he assembled the staff and then how, with a direct approach, he went and got it done.
Talk about your defensive philosophy. What will that be like here at Arkansas? Will it be aggressive style, or how does Billy Odom
the thing that I want to really take a hard look at is what we currently have on our roster, and then the coaches that have success over long periods of time, they're able to adjust to the personnel that they have. I could go draw up a blitz from the field and the boundary and all that, but if our kids can't do it, it's of no value. We've got to be great teachers, but we also have to give them a skill set, a tool belt on what they can go do, put them in position to use the skills that they've got where they can go play fast, and they can play confident, and they can play free, but doing it within the structure of how we're going to play. But if you look at toughness and grit and playing together and playing hard and doing it for 4 quarters and finding ways to get off the field, either turnovers or takeaways, third down percentage, all those things go into core beliefs and values and foundational approach on building the defense. But man, if you can get the guys playing together and getting them playing hard and finding ways that they care about the guy lined up next to them a lot more than anything else, now you're starting to make some ground up. So schematically, we'll have a number of different looks that we have.
Welcome back. It's our Monday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, coming to you here on KDSJ 479 from Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. And during our break, we let you hear audio from defensive coordinator, and I believe he's going to be the safeties coach for his defense here at Arkansas. Barry Odom had some really interesting things to say, but then I go while we're at the break, as we always do, we like to get our research, and we're looking at a lot of incoming guys that came in as those freshman class. They had quite a few of those guys got in early. My question to Demetrius would be this. I'm going to call off all the early enrollees, and you let me know which ones you feel. Maybe pick me 3 of them. We have Kellen Burley. He's a 6-foot guy, 6 foot 205 linebacker. Julius Coates is a 6'6", 270 defensive end. Miles Slusher, 6 foot 181. Blaine Tolles, 6'5", 200. We're going to give him 250 pounds based on what I've heard, but right now by roster 244. Darian Turner, 6'3", 205, wide receiver, and Ja'Cory Turner, 6'2", 205. That to me is impressive, Demetrius. That to me is really impressive. You've gone out, and we all know Arkansas's biggest problem last year was they were giving up what? They were giving up half the world on defense.
Half the world.
I mean, those were 500 clips. It seemed like each and every week. I mean, if it's like pulling a curtain back. You pull the curtain back 500 yards. You go back to the next game, pull it back 500 more yards. So, I mean, what they've been able to do in getting these early signings like Kellen Burley, Coates, Slusher, Turner, these are guys that'll have a chance to come in here on the defensive side. And it's also really good, Demetrius. These are linebackers and defensive backs, the most needed positions, and has been for the last 3 or 4 years in Fayetteville.
Absolutely, and that's what I was going to say out of everybody. I think the offense is in pretty good condition when you look at what's returning. But I think it's that, again, I've been talking about it all season. It's that back end of that defense that you're really not sure about. You have some experience in Joe Fouché that's going to return at that safety position. You have guys like
Miles Mason.
That's going to get a chance. He started playing a lot towards the end of the year, so it's good that he got some experience, but he'll be back there.
But, you and I have always talked about, and I'm a firm believer, I think they need to move Buster Brown to safety. I think if Buster was to go to safety, I mean, you'll get things from him that maybe he could do, but it doesn't allow him the freedom to do at the cornerback spot.
And I think that's a good move when you actually look at Joe Fouché as well. I think he needs to move closer to the line of scrimmage. When you look at him, he's very, very, very aggressive, which is a good thing, but sometimes tends to get him in bad positions when you talk about covering. So I think when you look at guys like Coach Chris Carter and you look at some of the things Barry Odom, I think that's a consideration that you could think of those guys kind of not necessarily changing positions, but changing roles as far as responsibilities when both of those guys are on the field at the same time.
The thing I'm going to also be watching with this football team is, like you said, the physicality on the defensive and offensive line, the point of attack. I think that's the biggest thing I'm going to have my eye on, and just see, is there a lot of contact, or is there, as we say, rubbing? Are they playing cotton swab football?
My coach used to call it chest bumping.
See, I was gonna say another word, but I can't. I gotta be PC on here, so I can't say that. It's like my coach would say, but we won't get off into that.
That's why I said chest bumping. We'll put that in quotation mark, chest bumping. But he used to talk about, if you're not gonna drive nobody in the dirt, you chest bumping. So I think this year you're gonna see a totally different type of defense. There was a lot of times where we sat back, taking a lot of pressure instead of coming in and attacking. We were.
How many third days did you see Arkansas go back into a cover 2?
Yeah, and we're on third down and three. We're in 3. It's 3rd and 2 yards, and they in the cover 2. Why are you dropping back and know they're about to run the ball?
Right.
And we're not sending any kind of pressure. So that was one thing that I mentioned last year that I wish Coach would have implemented, or Chief would have implemented, and I thought he would have, and that was exotic blitzes. They started to, but it seemed like every time they started doing it, they got away from it, and that's when it went downhill as far as them giving up chunk plays. I can give up chunk plays if you're moving at 100% and you're executing what I told you to do, and we just got beat because we were out of position. But it's different when guys are just sitting back and they have no way to even defend themselves because they're just totally out of position. We didn't have that back end guys that could really even cover. So that's something that I definitely think is going to have to change this year.
And I think something that doesn't get talked about enough is in college football. You look across the country, great programs. These position coaches were great players themselves. All conference, all Americans, former NFL or whatnot. They were great players themselves. And I think if you're a great player, I think if you're a player that's able to have some success collegiately, you're going to be able to translate to the coaching side of things and be able to develop at a level because you play the game. And I think when you look at Barry Odom, a very accomplished linebacker at Missouri, Ryan Rhodes played under Coach Pittman, very accomplished. We all know the career Sam Carter had at TCU. And then you look at Derek LeBlanc. He's a very decorated defensive line coach and player. So when you look at all those things, look at the offensive side of the ball, like I said, I'll continue to say it, great coaches and programs. The position coaches were great players themselves. You go back and look at it. The majority of the time that's going to ring true.
Absolutely. I think really what's going to also help is the defense isn't going to have to be on the field as long as they were last year. Sometimes I feel the defense didn't get a true look because they were on the field a lot of times more than the offense was.
Right.
And I think this year, now that we're going to have a better offensive line, I think it's going to give us a better balance as far as not giving up so many points back to back, because there was games we were in and then you would look up and they were up 3 touchdowns. Right. So I think with the offense having the ability to score this year, I think it's going to give the defense a lot better stats when you look at it.
I got a question for you. So now, with that being said, knowing what you have coming back offensively, outside of your tight end, skill positions are intact, offensive line pretty much intact. What are the percentages every time, from a scale of 1 to 100? What's your percentage every time Arkansas gets in the 20 inside in the red zone that they come away this year with touchdowns and not 3-pointers? Because you can kick threes, but when they get in sevens, everything's going to be a +4, -4 on you. What's the percentage? I think Arkansas 55-56% will push it across that last line this year.
I think if we had done spring ball, I could give you an actual number, but because I have seen no football-related action, I really couldn't even give you even an estimate. Now, I would like for us to be around that 40 to 50% anytime we come in the red zone, because that means you got a 50-50 chance of scoring every time you get the ball. So, again, I think if that offensive line is aggressive and attacks from when the whistle blows and we're not getting pushed back, I think we're going to have a high percentage of scoring in the red zone, because you look at so many weapons. Guys are going to have to respect Rakeem Boyd. Guys are going to have to double Trey Knox or Traylon Burks. And then you come in, you got guys like Davion Warren that can possibly slide somewhere in that slot. Then you got guys like what's the back?
Corlin Jackson.
What's the running back though?
You got Tyson Morris. You got Amonte Spivey.
The other running back that they've been talking a lot. That was off the team for a while. T.J. Hammonds.
Yes,
T.J. Hammonds is going to be a guy that guys
Traylon
really
Smith.
Respect. So when you look at what's on the offensive side of the ball, the offense looks very, very promising. Again, it's just going to be
that
determined
tight
by
end
that
spot may be the one position.
O-line.
That it'll be the most inexperienced position on offense this year, the tight end.
But I feel like the tight end
you don't
position,
say it very often.
The tight end position, I don't think it will be a key factor in what's going on this year. I think they'll definitely be implemented in the offensive scheme. But I think when you look at these skill guys like we just named, Trey Knox, Rakeem Boyd, this being his senior year and him deciding to come back, they're going to make these guys focal points. Mike Woods. Those are going to be guys that they make sure that they try to get the ball to, 8 to 10 times a game and somehow spread that out for as far as like making sure we're running plays to get these guys the ball. So, again, I think it's going to be so many different weapons that tight end really won't be a factor as far as it hurting us on our success on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, that just wrapped up our show today. I'm telling you, we couldn't have put a better bow on it. Tomorrow we'll get back to the Hog Eye segment and much, much, much more throughout the week we have planned for you. I'm excited, but I really felt like today's conversation, we had to get some things said. Like I said, won't ever feel bad about my personal stance on what's going on in today's society, being in the sports world. If all I talk about is sports, then, what service am I really doing when I can't speak up on some of the bigger platforms when that's what, this platform allows me to do. But as I've said, College coaches, speak up. I won't be the one that has to pay for it in the end. You know what they say? Karma is. I won't say that. I'm gonna be quiet. But listen, speak up. Let us know how you feel. Silence. And my grandpa always said, when they show themselves, you best believe them. And believe me, families are definitely watching what's going on the collegiate side. Free scholarships mean speak up. That's all I'm saying. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for all the comments from my good buddy, Demetrius Johnson, co-host, the man behind the scenes. Give a shout-out to the sponsors that make it possible. With that being said, Lindsay & Associates with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also, too, in Rogers. Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Paint, and the one that you always hear me talk about because I'm there most of the time. And from what I'm seeing, you guys are feeling it, too. KDK's Chicken at 989 South Razorback Road. Go see Keith, Kathy. I tell you, get some of that love, and like they say on the building, it's not your mama's, but I added this. The best chicken and waffles in the South. Meet us there or beat us there. KDK's Chicken. That's going to wrap it up for myself, my producer Demetrius. Thanks for all the viewership. Continue to talk, and just interact with us. We love having you. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. You guys have a blessed one, and like I say, let's get it.